Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 19 in the book of 1peter. We're in chapter 3 now, and there's something here for everybody. Listen to this. This is from 1peter chapter 3 and verse 8. Today's title is, I Hope You Suffer. Now, I'm saying that partially to get your attention, but partially because it's true. Because when you're suffering, that means you're resisting temptation. Then, when we get together, or the body of Christ gets together on a Sunday, then the answer is, then I'm supposed to be compassionate and show brotherly love. Why? Because you've been in the fire all week long. You've been suffering all week long. You've been resisting temptation all week long. So listen in here. This is from 1 Peter chapter 3. I'm going to start in verse 8. Finally, all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. Don't repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless, for to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. So two things I want to talk about, just definition-wise. Number one is the tender heart. So this is that wonderful Greek word splanknos, and what it means is we would say, I have a tender heart towards you, but the way they would say it is, I have tender bowels. My gut is tender. My viscera, my very insides. And I just think it sort of describes where we kind of water it down, say, my heart is tender towards you. It's just a little bit bigger of a word. So there's something in here for everybody. It's saying, here's how I want you to respond, Church of God. I want you to be like-minded, harmonious of thought. Well, why is that? Not everybody in the church, in fact, nobody in the church sort of gets their own opinion. You get God's truth. You get God's opinion. And we're supposed to be moving away from our opinion and agreeing with God towards God's opinion. So it's not a thought democracy. It's a thought theocracy, and we're melding our minds towards the way He thinks. Secondly, this sympathy, that's the sharing understanding in the hard stuff. And this passage, though I didn't read all the verses before it and all the verses that are after it, but basically it's sandwiched between difficulty on one side of the Oreo and difficulty on the other side of the Oreo. It's suffering. I love that Peter, he just, admits this is tough. It's talking about submission and warring with your passions. And, we come in on Sunday morning, and I hope you suffer because, as it says in Hebrews 2:18, because He Himself has suffered when tempted, He's able to help those who are being tempted. So when you're tempted and you specifically resist temptation, guess what? It's called suffering. You stop suffering when you submit to the temptation, which is not the effort that we're not supposed to be submitting to the bad temptations. The point is, both sides of this passage, before it and after it, it talks about difficult things. And how are we supposed to respond to each other? Are we supposed to throw each other under the bus? No, we're supposed to throw each other a lifeline. It's described as brotherly love. Loving the knucklehood is how I say that. Well, the church is full of knuckleheads who are maybe trying their best and maybe succeeding, plus or minus. And when we get together, we should be warm towards each other because people have been out there, suffering. We should be tender-hearted, have tender bowels towards each other, humble minds. So the passage is calling for us to be with a group of people characterized by compassion and tenderness because they've been in trouble all week long. So, and that's where I get sort of, I hope you suffer, because that means you're resisting temptation and all that. And we're supposed to be having robust, collective, interior lives individually, hoping in God, don't fearing what is frightening, honoring Christ as holy, for the Lord's sake to be subject within the home and within human institutions and outside of the home towards government. So then we get together and we're supposed to have a robust, collective, compassionate life towards each other, understanding tenderness, understanding what everybody else is going through. So don't throw each other under the bus, throw each other a lifeline. This is a family. We've been under duress, and man, is it good to see you on Sunday morning or whatever, whenever the body gathers. Everyone you know is fighting a great battle, as Philo of Alexandria said. And we're going to head back to the trouble here thematically right after this verse, but hopefully everybody in the church is in a great battle. Hopefully everybody in the church is resisting temptation and suffering in that sense. So then when we gather, we're supposed to be honoring one another and loving the knucklehood and being sympathetic and having unity of mind and having brotherly love towards one another. So let's not be tempted to throw each other under the bus, to revile or threaten or to be deceitful or repay evil or to use bad words or to be fearful. So today's lesson, I know it's ironic, is I hope you suffer, because when you suffer, that means that you have resisted temptation. Then on Sunday morning or whenever your fellowship time is, you drag yourself in on a Sunday morning and you say, I made it. And everybody in the church puts their arms around you and you put your arms around them and shows you a unity of mind and sympathy and tender bowels towards one another, brotherly love towards one another, loving the knucklehood together. That's where I hope that you suffer, but I also hope that you love the knucklehood, that you love the body of Christ, that you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, and a tender heart towards one another. Let's be good to one another. Thanks for listening.